Hello everyone, welcome aboard on the 5th episode of our video lessons on methods and approaches to language teaching. Today we are going to talk about the standards-based language teaching. We will start by providing an overview of its origins and highlight how it differs from previous methods and approaches. Then we will explore the definition of standards and present the 11 content standards. Finally, we will see how these standards are implemented in the Moroccan context. But before we start, I'd like to inform you that materials, exercises, and mock exams related to this course are available on the university's Moodle platform, which is accessible through the link provided in the description of the video. The standards-based language teaching was developed by the American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages in 1990s. The first version appeared in 1996 and the latest version appeared in 2015. The official document of the standards-based language teaching offered very little descriptions of the approach, activities, teacher roles and learner roles, instructional materials and procedures. We will consider that these are to a great extent similar to the ones we presented in the task-based and communicative language teaching. Generally speaking, the standards-based language teaching originated from the competency-based language teaching. It represents a paradigm shift in the history of language teaching methods because it has shifted the focus of education from the input to the output. Contrary to other methods which spilled much ink trying to prescribe the content and the process of learning by telling teachers what to teach and how to teach it, the standards-based language teaching offered a description of the expected outcomes, a description of skills, knowledges and behaviors which language learners should possess to demonstrate that they have successfully learned the language. The question one might be asking right now is, what are standards? To better understand what standards are and how they work, we may compare them to a finish line in a race. The finish line is the objective towards which we are running, and at the same time, it helps us measure how far or how close we are from achieving this objective. Generally speaking, a standard is both a goal and a unit of measuring the extent to which one is progressing towards that goal, to determine whether they are far or near the goal. Within the standards-based language teaching, we can identify three different standards: content standards, performance standards, and proficiency standards. Content standards specify what learners should know and be able to do with the language. Contrary to traditional methods, which simply deal with what students should know about the language, this standards-based language teaching adds the dimension of language use by describing what learners should be able to do with language. Performance standards describe how students will show that they have achieved the content standards. Is it through speaking activities, writing activities, listening activities, or reading activities, for example? Proficiency standards provide criteria for evaluating how well a learner has achieved the content standards. They allow teachers to identify which performance merits an excellent mark and which one merits a good mark and which one merits a mediocre mark. In this video, we are going to deal only with content standards since they are fixed and unchangeable. The other two can change and vary according to teachers and school districts. The standards-based language teaching has established 11 content standards that specify what students should know and be able to do with language. These standards are generated from the fact that people learn a foreign language for different reasons. Some learn it to communicate, others need it to interact with people from different cultures. Some students only learn a foreign language so as to pass the exam and succeed in school, or because it offers them the opportunity to connect with other subjects and disciplines. Another category of students are only interested in learning a foreign language because they are curious about comparing languages and cultures, while the majority of students want to learn the foreign language so as to integrate a global community or increase their chances to get a job after they finish the school. The 5 goals that we have just stated are consecutively captured and summarized in 5 key words, which represent the 5 goal areas of the standards-based language teaching. The first goal area is that of communications. The second is that of cultures, followed by connections, comparisons, and communities. These 5 goal areas are also called the 5 C's because they all start with a C. The 5 C's, or the 5 goal areas, call them interchangeably as you wish, are the pillars of the standards-based language teaching. The question some of you may be asking now is, where are the 11 standards? These are only 5 goal areas. As you can see from this figure, the 5 goal areas serve as containers that help us organize the 11 standards. Each goal area includes 2 or 3 fixed standards. For example, the goal area of communication includes 3 standards. The other 4 goal areas include only 2 standards for each. The goal area of communication includes 3 standards that represent the 3 modes of communication. The first standard is about the interpersonal mode of communication, and it states that learners should be able to interact and negotiate meanings in spoken or written conversations, to share information, reactions, feelings, and options. The interpersonal mode of communication requires the use of the 4 skills: listening and reading to understand the message, and using speaking and writing to provide a response, which is either immediate or delayed. In synchronous communication activities such as face-to-face conversations, phone calls, chats, the response is immediately required, and if the person doesn't respond, the sender of the message may be offended. In asynchronous communication activities, the response may be delayed for hours or days or even months, such as in letters, emails, faxes, but the response is required anyway. The second standard of the goal area of communications is the interpersonal mode of communication. It states that learners should be able to understand, interpret, and analyze what is heard, read, or viewed on a variety of topics. This standard measures the learner's ability to use their interpretive skills to understand, interpret, and analyze messages in a variety of activities that necessitate the use of reading and listening skills, but do not call for any kind of response, such as when they are watching movies, reading books, listening to the radio, listening to a song, or simply reading the Quran. It also encourages them to use their critical thinking skills to analyze the different meanings of the message. The third standard is related to the presentational mode of communication. It indicates that learners should be able to present information, concepts and ideas to inform, explain or persuade and narrate on a variety of topics using appropriate media and adapting to various audiences of listeners, readers and viewers. These standards encourages learners to improve their ability to use language productively through using productive skills of speaking and writing to achieve different purposes and intentions, such as informing, explaining, narrating, persuading their audiences of listeners, readers or viewers in a variety of activities which do not require the audience's immediate or delayed feedback or response. Such activities include, for example, writing a poem, writing a story, writing a book, giving a presentation or giving a speech, or simply making a video tutorial on YouTube. The second goal area of the standards-based approach is that of cultures, and it is based on the idea that a foreign language cannot be taught without its culture, because culture provides the contextual clues for appropriately using the language. Within the framework of the standards-based approach, culture is composed of three elements: the three P's: perspectives, practices, and products. Perspectives refer to the immaterial and abstract components of culture, such as beliefs, attitudes, meanings, values, feelings, and conventions. The second component is practices, which refer to what people do and how they do it, such as celebrations, habits, dressing codes, and greeting manners. The third element is that of products, and it includes all material objects which are used in a culture, such as tools, books, clothes, meals, folklore, dance, music, drinks, laws, games, and crafts. The goal area of cultures includes two main standards which aim at measuring the students' understanding of the relationship between cultural perspectives and cultural practices, as in standard number 4, and the relationship between cultural perspectives and cultural products, as in standard number 5. Generally speaking, learners should be able to investigate, explain, and reflect on how cultural perspectives control and determine cultural practices and cultural products. For example, religion is part of our beliefs that compose our cultural perspectives. Therefore, religion determines and controls not only what we do and how we do it, but also the food, the clothes, and other products that we produce. The third goal area of the standards-based language teaching enables learners to make connections between what they study in language classrooms with what they study in other subjects. For instance, the topics and themes discussed in the English language classroom in Morocco or presented by the ALT textbooks establish connections with philosophy, history, geography, biology, and other subjects. Thus, the English language classroom is interdisciplinary, as it offers learners the opportunity to consolidate and expand their knowledges on other subjects. Foreign language classroom, as standard number 7 attests, offer language learners opportunities for acquiring information and diverse perspectives which they could not access in their L1. In the Moroccan context, for example, many students use English to get some information which is not available in their L1. Many research papers, scientific discoveries, and technological inventions are only available and accessible through the use of English language. The fourth goal area is that of comparisons, and it includes two standards. Standard number 8 is about language comparisons, and it enables learners to compare their own language with the foreign language in order to identify similarities and differences in terms of structure and meaning. Thus, learners should be able to use the similarities to increase their learning and at the same time be aware of the differences that may affect their learning through negative transfer. Standard number 9 is related to cultural comparisons, and it measures the learner's ability to compare and contrast their own culture with the culture of the language being studied. Learners should be able to identify similarities and differences between perspectives, practices, and products of their culture and those of the foreign culture. They should also be aware that being different does not mean being superior or inferior. Rather, they should tolerate difference so as to boost their intercultural communicative competence. The last goal area is that of communities, and it includes the final two standards. Standard number 10 provides a bridge between school and the immediate communities of learners. It states that learners need to demonstrate that they can use the foreign language not only in the classroom, but also in their communities outside school. They should be able to use the language appropriately and effectively as a tool for integrating their local communities as well as the global communities as they become world citizens. The 11th standard is related to lifelong learning and continuous personal and professional development. It is based on the assumption that learning does not stop after one leaves school. In fact, learners need to develop reflective and critical thinking skills that allow them to become independent learners who can set goals and reflect on their progress in using languages for enjoyment, enrichment, and advancement. Now, I'd like you to take some time and reflect on the following question. Which one of the 5 goal areas is not important and can be ignored by teachers without affecting the outcome of the teaching-learning process? The answer is provided in the description of the video. The standards-based language teaching has gone places where no other method has gone before. It has certainly moved beyond the limits of the 4 skills, grammar and vocabulary, to the sphere of global competence. According to the American Council on Teaching of Foreign Languages position statement, the standards-based language teaching adopts an eclectic approach that combines communicative competence manifested through the goal area of communications and comparisons, intercultural communicative competence promoted by the goal area of cultures and comparisons, and interdisciplinarity geared through connections alongside self-development and global citizenship enhanced through the goal area of communities. Obviously, this method targets promoting the global competence of learners, including their behavioral, cognitive, metacognitive, and sociocultural competencies. The standards-based language teaching was adopted by the Ministry of National Education in Morocco in 2007. Since then, it has become the reference source to all parties concerned with the teaching of English as a foreign language in Morocco, including curriculum developers, textbook designers, school inspectors, and teachers. One of the advantages of this standards-based language teaching is that it has given more freedom to teachers, learners, and textbook designers to select, design, and organize their materials, techniques, and strategies because it did not specify the input which they must use. It did not specify the content of the textbooks, the activities, and the techniques which teachers should use. It also did not specify the roles of the teachers and the roles of learners, as well as the teaching procedures. It only specified the desired outcomes, the goals, or the standards. Thus, teachers, learners, and textbook designers feel more freedom in choosing the procedures, techniques, strategies, and materials they use to achieve the desired output described by the standards. One thing that best illustrates this is that for each grade, there are 3 different textbooks. For example, for the second year baccalaureate, we have Gateway to English, Ticket to English, and Insights into English. Each one of these textbooks provides a different organization and a different content than the 2 others. A good example that illustrates the implementation of the standards-based language teaching in the Moroccan AFL context is the textbook. If we look at the table of content of Gateway to English 2, for example, we can see that it organizes its content not only according to units, but also according to the goal areas the contents promote. Alongside the traditional language components of grammar and vocabulary, we see that the 4 skills are included within the goal area of communication. We also see that there are activities that target the goal areas of cultures and connections. Moreover, the goal area of communities is enacted through learner training and project work. As for the goal area of comparisons, it is indirectly embedded within language, communication, and cultures.